Hello, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. You are live, and I'm going to introduce you quickly, and then bring on my colleague Leon John, who's going to be engaging in Q&A with you. So, very quickly, Brian is the president of Group 9 Media, a digital media holding company that consists of Pop Sugar, Thrillist, Now This, The Dodo, and Seeker. He's a former CEO of Pop Sugar, which he founded with his wife and current brand president, Lisa Sugar. He's going to engage in a conversation on content and commerce with Radical's Leon John. So, Leon, I'll hand it over to you.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, Brian. Really great to meet you.
Me too.
Yeah. So maybe to kick it off, I'm sure we didn't do a good enough job of giving you an introduction. So we'd love to, hear directly from you. If you could introduce yourself, Group 9 Media, and maybe dive into some of the problems that you're looking to solve at Group 9.
Yeah, sure. And thanks you for the original introduction. My name is Brian Sugar again. I'm number 2 of Pop Sugar. My wife is actually number 1. Lisa and I started Pop Sugar in 2006 with the idea that magazines would be coming online and we could create a really compelling company and brand that was centered around building a really big audience, but then not only making money from advertising, but doing a lot of direct to consumer and a lot of commerce activities, which we've done through the years. I'm also an investor in direct to consumer brands and technology companies. I currently sit on a bunch of boards, including Group 9, but I also sit on the board of Everlane, and I also sit on the board of a company called Fast, which is a new checkout service that will be debuting the end of the summer. We just did our Series A financing from Stripe, which is great. But I've been really at the core of content and commerce for my entire career. I started my career at J.Crew back in '96. I launched jcrew.com, and I've been involved in e-commerce and digital media for 25 plus years. Group
Awesome.
9, yeah, and we sold Pop Sugar to Group 9 back last fall, and we merged our businesses. And Group 9 consists of 5 brands, as you said: Pop Sugar, Thrillist, Dodo, Seeker, and Now This. And diverse revenue streams ranging from advertising to affiliate to influencer to ad agency, distributed revenue, et cetera. We're sort of at the forefront of all of this digital media world. Some relevant things, some challenges that we've hit with the current global pandemic that we're in. I remember that first weekend that things hit, kind of in the middle of early middle of March. We started really worrying what was going to happen to usage and what are consumers going to do. One of the areas that we're very, very big in is Pop Sugar Fitness. We noticed just a surge in workout videos and on YouTube and some of our apps that we have. And we were planning on launching Pop Sugar Active in July of this year, and we decided to launch it early and for free. So if you search for Active by Pop Sugar, you can see the app, you can see the website. It was supposed to be a $4.99 per month, all you can eat subscription service for all of our awesome video content around fitness. And we currently, sort of offer that for free, and we're going to do that ongoing throughout the pandemic. Other areas where we saw some challenges in the beginning, we make a good amount of money around affiliate. And a lot of our affiliate partners decided to cut back on how much they would, spend with us. That's come back, not to the same levels as it has been, but we started focusing on new areas of affiliate that we hadn't done in the past. So we did some partnerships around, like if you're looking at a recipe, you'll be able to, actually click and add all of those items to your cart and so on and so forth. But probably a lot to discuss today around content and commerce here virtually.
Yeah. Just to kind of echo what you said, one of the things here at Radical, we work really closely with brands too. And one of the things I've heard anecdotally is that, brands and managers are looking to really make their marketing dollars stretch. And that I think it's a good way for us to springboard into this conversation around like content and commerce. So I think it's really interesting, right? The idea of shoppable content isn't necessarily a new concept or medium, but it seems like there's this greater emphasis being placed on it, like the idea of parlaying immersive experiential content into a product sale. Any sense on like what this means for brands? Is shoppable content a really critical, and should it be a critical component of any brand strategy?
Yes, both for brands and for digital media brands like ours. I mean, we've been doing it for so many, over a decade, and we keep evolving it. We have a product that we came out with earlier this year called Sparkle, which is really a swipe up experience. So if you're on an Instagram story and you like what Pop Sugar is talking about from an outfit perspective, you can swipe up. And we've done e-commerce integrations into various different retailers and brands, but like we did something with the Gap and Old Navy, so that when you swipe up, you can choose the size and colors you want of that outfit, and it hops over the product page and brings you to the checkout page, so you don't have to go through all the the whole mobile e-commerce experience of Gap or whatnot. Yeah. So that's been a really big push for us right now. But I think it's super important as everybody is constantly evolving how they interact with your brand, is you got to create these shoppable moments that are quick and easy. And I think we've done a pretty decent job with our Sparkle project, and then also with what we've done with recipes and grocery.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some of the tasty or some of the recipe examples where it's I'm thinking as a consumer through. I'm a huge fan of like cooking, and so it's super relevant to me. But like just the how tedious and then how friction filled the experience of buying the right brand or the right flour, the right alcohol to some extent, but having that be a really seamless experience, I think that's a huge part and a huge opportunity for brands. So definitely,
yeah. I mean, during this entire situation, we have 3 daughters, under the age of 14, yeah. And we have really used the meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner as a place in the house where we all came out of our virtual meetings and our classrooms and all of that. And we took great and a lot more enjoyment out of cooking together, looking up recipes, ordering stuff on Instacart, and living this kind of new world together as a little family unit. Yeah. And cooking has really, really been a thing that in our family brings everybody together. And I think we've seen high usage of our content across that, and making it super easy for you to just easily read and see what you want and then buy it has been a personal thing for Lisa and I, and we've done it across many of our brands. So, my latest purchase is this small little awesome pizza oven, and we now know the 00 flour to buy, and how to make the ball of pizza, put it in the refrigerator for 24 hours, and like all of that. And then it's like just feeding into content that I'm reading about and then commenting on. So cooking has been a really fun activity, during these past couple of months.
Awesome. I think that's a really good segue into, as we think about how brands can leverage this new and changing consumer behavior. I think there are like 2 different groups of folks in this, as they're kind of like thinking about the strategy. Like firstly, any advice maybe you would give a brand who hasn't been focusing on digital channels or shoppable content before the pandemic, but now that things have changed and become the way they are now adapting? Any kind of advice for them as they're thinking through this?
And when you say brand, yeah, what type of brand are you thinking about?
Yeah, so if we just continue with the cooking example, right? Or let's say like King Arthur flour, like they want to do something around baking. Baking's up.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. That's a great example. I mean, we now on Pop Sugar have done a ton of articles about how to make pizza at your home, and it's making pizza at home is actually quite hard if anybody's tried it. I mean, to get it the way that you rather than just like some doughy tomato sauce cheese situation, like to really make it great. And that King Arthur's flour is like so premier to actually make that. So, we would work with a company like that and create, amazing content that would be usable, shareable across many different platforms, across all our social profiles, across Facebook, and obviously our own and operated. And we'd create a really robust, authentic pizza creation experience. And then it would be really clear you really want to do it. It's super actionable. And we have a button there that would go and do it. I'm also, I'm an investor in a company called Caraway, which is a whole new pots and pan for the new generations. And, the revenue scale up from February through like just this past month has been just massive, just total massive. And some of the things that they're doing with content companies like ours and micro influencers on, just being in their apartment at home and using those pots and using the recipes have, just really created just a level of explosion. I mean, the amount of e-commerce that's going on. I mean, there's some studies that says before the pandemic in the US, online commerce represented about 12 or 13% of US retail sales. And back in May, it was up over 35%, which is just absolutely amazing. And, I don't think it's obviously going to stay that way for forever once we sort of reopen, but definitely will be over, 20%. I'm on the board of Everlane, and we have 5 stores currently closed. We had a numerous number that were planned to open this year and next year. That number will dramatically be reduced because of the output that's having on online. We're going through a massive change in how people shop. And I think these behaviors are going to stick. I never thought my wife would allow someone else to choose their produce through Instacart. And I can't even see going back and wasting the time. And I think what's happened in a lot of the companies that I'm involved with, a lot of these brands, they hit a certain level of sales online, $25 or $40 million. And they work with the brands and influencers, and they do all their performance marketing. They raise a bunch of money, they cap out, and they're like, how do we grow? And they start launching stores, and those stores become a massive distraction. And, it's hard to name a really great company that has over 25 stores and does over $100 million in revenue online that's been launched in the last decade. Mm-hmm. And I see this COVID really making all these new online brands just focus on the online channels. Instead of opening a store, why don't you open Instagram or open a store on Pop Sugar or open a store in the online channels that everybody's in? I just think people that have bricks and mortar that rely on foot traffic and people like wasting their time going to stores are just going to be forever changed and need to adapt their business model radically.
That's really interesting. And, I think if we take a step back and kind of look at the changes caused by the pandemic, more people are staying at home. They're interacting with brands on a more, or mostly kind of like digital channel. Would love to kind of dive a little deeper there. Like, can you speak to, and I think, you mentioned it, there's like this growing comfort on the consumer end to be buying groceries, which, most people are traditionally comfortable picking out their own apple or picking out their own broccoli. But now we've seen a growing comfort there. So would love to hear from, you have great experience in kind of the retail, in the retail space. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any additional like powerful and important shifts in space. Yeah.
I'm on the board of a company called Roadster. Okay. Roadster is been around for about 5 years, and they originally started as a platform for people to buy new cars directly from dealers. And they hit a ton of challenges in doing that. And about 2 years ago, they kind of pivoted and decided to be the software that powers digital retailing for car dealerships. And great traction, fine traction, great growth, everybody happy. Man, has that pandemic just radically changed their business. Like, you look at their graphs and they're like going up and up, and then it's like, oh, that's April, that's May, that's June. And it's like every single car dealership wants Roadster installed because people are not going to come into dealerships. And let's be honest, like, nobody likes going to the car dealership. And the fact that they never were digitized, it's like, everybody's saying that the next 3 years without COVID is basically compressed down to like 2 or 3 quarters. And we're just seeing the future unfold much rapidly than we ever could have predicted. So Roadster, it's just like, now if you try to go buy a car right now during the pandemic, you get the car delivered to you that day. It's like amazing. And you don't have to like have that whole haggle session. Let me go talk to my manager. They come back and it's gorgeous. And like, it's like, the iTunes store. It's like amazing.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. And this idea of compression of timelines of change is a big part of the conversation for companies, for businesses. What does it mean more specifically for brands? It feels like it does, to some extent, light a fire underneath people's seats. Like, what are some of the challenges? What are some opportunities? And that was a perfect example of how car dealerships can look to take advantage of a solution in time to better serve their customers. Any sense of if there are any other areas or forms that that can take?
Well, I mean, obviously in the fitness category, right? I work with a company called The Assembly in San Francisco, which is a women's wellness and health club where it's sort of, Equinox meets WeWork, but for women. So downstairs are all these amazing classes for wellness and yoga and et cetera, et cetera. And upstairs you sort of work. Well, they've been closed since March 9th with no signs of opening. And, in California, we're seeing, resurgence of everything. Gavin Newsom sort of saying that's going to get closed, keep staying closed. So what Molly and team did was they started to just digitize their classes and make the Assembly available worldwide for their members and attract new members. And it's just, they always had in their plan that they would have a digital presence at some point, but they really like their physical presence. But now it's like, I can't think of a business where like digital is just their future. From, my good buddy runs One Medical, and their telemedicine practice is amazing. I'm an investor in a company called Small Door, which is a veterinarian, and they're just building out their whole telemedicine for vets. I mean, the future is like, as much as bad as the current situation that we're in, once we have the cure and we've solved it and we've moved on, the fact that everything will be so much more digital and will save so much time and money in doing these various boring, mundane activities, and we just do it on your phone, it's just going to be a better place that we live in, and we'll, concentrate on, living better lives. Yeah. I love it. I've been saying this since when I started at J. Crew, people were like, no one's going to buy clothes online. No one can use a credit card online. It's not going to be secure. I was like, to me, it was obvious that I just was like, malls would close down. Like, no one will live in cities. And it's happening. I mean, it's happening. A good percentage of people in our offices are talking about never moving back to whether it be LA, San Francisco, or New York. And there's a lot to be said about the good things about, moving as rapidly as we can to being fully digital. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. So Brian, I think this is a really good segue as you're talking about some of the companies that you invest in, some of the companies you are an advisor to. You sit in this really unique position. You have experience both on the digital media side as an investor and an advisor, but to some of these really incredible DNVB brands, right? Like Everlane, the Truck Smiths, and Olive & June's of the world. As we think about the audience, right, legacy brands, what are some things that we can learn from smaller, maybe, and we've heard this before, from some of our previous speakers, but it seems like startups are more nimble. Anything else a legacy brand can learn from them?
Well, I think that, after I left J. Crew, a bunch of years later, Mickey Drexler came in and sort of, did the amazing things that he did there. And we would talk every so often. And I always got the feeling from him that digital was like the finance department. It was kind of just another department that kind of and it was all sort of retail. And I really think that the whether they're nimble or not, I just think that there's just way more focused on their customer and where they are, and breaking rules and understanding what they want, and having just an amazing online experience and building a community through social in an authentic manner is what these newer brands are doing, like Olive and June. I mean, watch what Sarah does on her social. It's amazing. And, when you watch, like, I don't know, a more traditional brand in the space, whether it be J. Crew or not, it's like, it just feels like a marketing department, kind of like just going through it. It doesn't feel authentic to the brand. And I think I think the CEO of that company, whatever we're talking about, has to believe that digital is the fastest growing, et cetera, et cetera. And you know what? It's like, I would be like, hey, Mickey, have you shopped on jcrew.com? Nah, I have my assistant do it. And now he's working with, like, his son on Alex Mills. And I'm like, do you shop on the website? No, we're going to open a whole bunch of stores. It's like, you got to live and breathe what your customers are doing. And it's just, they just got eclipsed by, people that, just do it better, faster, stronger in these new environments.
I think if I were to kind of just hone in on one of the words that you used just now, like authenticity, I think that's such an important thing as brands think about their messaging, right? How should they think about creating a more authentic message? And maybe that's a good segue into thinking about ways that they can partner with you or with, like, Group 9.
Yeah, I mean, I am a very non-believer in performance marketing. Like I think you need to be doing partnerships that are long-lasting to build your brand from an authentic manner. Yeah. And if brands like Thrillist and Pop Sugar and now this and other brands that are peers to ours out there, they've spent the better part of the last 15 years building an authentic audience out there that trusts what they have to say. And when a brand like Olive and June or Everlane or whatnot wants to come and partner with a great brand, they know that they're going to now be working with and talking to an authentic community / audience that they'll be able to rent for some period of time. I always advise all my businesses on the brand side that if you're spending more than 25% of your revenue on Google, Facebook, et cetera, for performance marketing, you're just doing something very wrong. Like, you're basically addicted to drugs and you love the high of your CAC and LTV through Facebook, et cetera, but you got to keep getting that high, and you got to keep, you get the tolerance, and you got to keep spending more and more. I highly suggest that you build your own audiences through social and partner with companies like us to build a real following and a real audience, so that you don't have, to have a good time, you don't need to bring out the drug. You can just have a really great time. Yeah.
And then maybe the last point before we kind of wrap up, curious as to kind of how then content and how Group 9 kind of approaches content. How do we bring that into authenticity narrative? Is it working, maybe not working with influencers anymore, but we'd love to hear your perspective on how that works out.
Well, it's just, the daily calls that the content teams are on. It's like, what's the world talking about today? How do we talk about it from our point of view, our voice? How does this work in fashion, fitness, celebrity entertainment? How does Thrillist approach this? What's the Dodo doing for this? I mean, it's constantly being culturally relevant and being a trusted source. And, like, at the end of everything, the world is kind of a sad place, and it's been kind of a sad place for the last kind of 3.5, maybe 3 years or whatnot. Sorry about the dog. Sorry, I got a watchdog here. But, like, at the end of everything, our brands are extremely optimistic. You're going to come and hang out on the Dodo and feel great. You're going to read something on Pop Sugar that's going to, like, cause you to take some sort of action. So I think it's just that trust and authenticity, and really at the end of it, just being super optimistic and happy about the world, so you can turn to us for it, is what our brands really stand for.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Brian. This is super enlightening. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And to the audience, if you're interested in connecting with Brian, we'll make sure to help facilitate those connections. So thank you so much for your time again.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.